And we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Vilhauer, and I am here with the special honor of introducing you to Coach Mark Zides, who today is launching his book, which I have proudly displayed here so you can see it the whole time we're live streaming. I got the really big honor. I keep saying that, but I love this guy. I got to meet Mark a few months ago, and he was, preparing for the launch of this really important and powerful book. And he asked if I and my team could support the launch of it. And it has just been a blast. So, Mark, thank you for allowing me to MC. Thank you for allowing me to introduce you. We're going to have some fun today. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I certainly paid you well enough to say that. So thank you for that. So thanks everyone for being here. Amber, thanks for co-hosting this with me. And it's going to be a lot of fun celebrating the launch of my first book today and published by Arm & Lear Press and myself. And it was a passion project that started a couple of years ago. And here we are. So never thought we would get here, but thanks to Amber and NGNG Enterprises and her whole team, and as well as everyone else that is part of my network and support system. Can't thank everyone enough. So excited to talk about the book a little bit and bring on some guest speakers or guest friends and colleagues and family today.
So how long ago did you start writing the book, Mark?
About 2 years ago. Just started chicken scratching it and putting together an outline, and then the outline became some notes into my phone, and then that became transcribed and it became this book. And like I said, something that I'm really passionate about, giving back to the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys in the marketplace. And here it is. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun journey.
So if you had to summarize what the book is about in a few sentences, what would you say?
It's to really help guide the younger generation, the Gen Zs and the younger Gen Ys in the marketplace as they embark on their careers early on. And there's a lot of challenges in the marketplace. It's not easy to get a job these days. And I'm just hopeful that, the experiences that I've had over the years, as well as having 3 Gen Zs of my own, will sort of launch people into the workplace in this new model or kind of the way that companies are hiring these days.
And spoiler alert, those 3 kiddos are going to be coming into our live stream today, which is really exciting. And we do have a really powerful lineup of guests here today, just sharing different perspectives on this topic. But Mark, why does this matter so much right now? Like, I know you said that it's really hard to get a job right now, but what are you seeing in the marketplace, this disconnect between Gen Zers coming in, what is happening in the workforce right now? Like, why does this matter so much right now?
So, based on the work that we do as a company at Core Access, and Christy Laredo, who runs our custom learning, is going to be on in a couple of minutes, as well as what our clients tell us, as well as my own personal experiences. In general, I feel that a lot of these kids aren't prepared, right? So they're not necessarily set up for success when they're going to market, or they're looking to brand themselves, or they want to, advocate for themselves as they're looking to get jobs or figure out which career is the best for them, and making sure that their own personal goals and all align with companies and whatnot. And then once they get into a company, there's also this line of thinking that they don't necessarily know how to pivot or reflect on, hey, should I stay here? Should I be doing something differently? So it's sort of that, experience and a lot of, advice that kind of goes into this book. And you mentioned sort of mentoring, because again, we see it all the time with these new hire and onboarding programs at these companies we work with.
Well, it has been especially exciting for me to be a part of this conversation over the past few months with you, because as a business owner myself, this applies to me. And so don't you think, Mark, I look at that every business owner should be buying a copy of this book for themselves, for their leadership team. These are bigger conversations that we should be having in our companies to build better culture, to set up these Gen Zers for success and promotions and growing the company as a whole. And I know you agree, right?
I agree. I'm not a self-promoter. That's why I hired you, right? To try to, help get the word out. And certainly I believe it applies to a lot of different, genres or constituencies, right? I think parents could, who have high school kids or young college kids trying to get internships or, looking at the job market could get value here. I think career centers at colleges and universities could absolutely get value out of the book, as well as those students are building their brands, their resumes, all of their social profiles. There's a lot of good tips and tricks there for all those folks.
Yes. Well, I don't want to hog up all of the time right now. I just wanted to explore some of the topics. We're obviously going to be talking about more throughout the sessions that we have coming up. But do you want to maybe introduce our first guest?
Sure. So Christy DiLoretto is going to be joining us. She's been at Core Access and working with me for 7 years. And there's Christy coming on.
Hi, Christy.
She's our VP of Custom Learning and Development. And more importantly, she's the president of PBD Little League, which is one of the top programs in Massachusetts. And also the president of Allergy and Asthma Awareness Initiative, which is something that's near and dear to her heart. So she brings a great perspective to this because she's got 3 young Gen Zers as well who are in the workplace and sees it with all of our clients every day what their challenges are with respect to training this quote unquote new generation. So thanks for joining, Christy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting, Mark. Congratulations on the book.
I know. It's a big day.
Wouldn't have done it without you, and your whole team's been awesome. We just found out today we won an award as an organization as a top learning company in the world, top 20. So we learned that about an hour and a half or so ago, and hats off to Christy and her team, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be sitting here. So clearly, kudos to those guys. So Christy, just want to kind of ask you a question. I mean, you certainly have a similar situation, with the 3 kids, and as someone who's involved in baseball and Little League and training and development, what are a few pieces of advice that you believe this generation can use as they look to enter the workforce?
Yeah, this is a tough one, Mark. We have spent so many hours, I think, in our one-on-ones, just kind of talking about our kids and this generation. It's definitely, I like the book idea. Of course, none of them will think they need it, right? Because they all know everything about everything. So I think that's the first piece of advice, is that they don't. And I struggle with this with my own kids. My oldest is going to be 19, and he did not go to college. He is going on the career path of becoming an electrician. So that's quite a different path than my middle son will take. So we're kind of in all different areas here. And I think the biggest thing that I see with my kids, and I'm guilty of doing it, and Mark, we've talked about this, is that we've tried to make things so easy for them. I think they haven't really had to want for things. They haven't had to really try hard. And I've done it too. I didn't know any better. I've been working since I was 14 years old, and I'm trying to get my kids to do that, but it's a different time. It's difficult for teenagers to try to find jobs and to get out there in the workforce, because I think of a lot of employers, they don't want to give them a shot because they don't show up. They just typically don't have a great reputation, this age group, right? They're not accountable. They're just a risk. So I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to do some things on my end to try to, just raise that perspective. And because it's not everybody, it's just some. So I think in terms of advice, it's with my own kids, save your money. I think these kids have grown up in much different than I did. If they want something, Amazon has it on our doorstep in two days. Uber Eats has it in an hour. I mean, my older son, he's going to kill me for saying this, but I mean, he's Uber Eats, sent an Uber Eats driver with ice cream, and I've seen other friends are like, my daughter just got a Starbucks coffee delivered, right? So it's like they want something and it's there. They don't have to wait. I think, growing up for us, we had to save for something or we needed to wait for it, right? You had to wait for everything. And now it's just always easily accessible and it's right there. And I see this actually down to my 12-year-old where he wants to spend all his money. And I'm like, but save it. And he's like, I have so much time to save. I just want to spend it. And so I think it's even starting younger and starting to instill that. And my parents did it with me, but I didn't follow their guidance as much as I wished I did. So I think, saving money, investing now, they are teaching this in school. My 16-year-old came home a few weeks ago and said that his financial teacher in high school, told them if they start investing their money at 18, how much money they would have and how that's going to only grow. And he was really excited about that. But I don't think that message is really shared across this generation early enough. And that goes with the investing in your future, because I think none of us realized if we had started earlier how much better off we would be. And we can tell these kids till we're blue in the face and they're not going to realize it until they go through it. But I think if we all try to put things out to them like this book, I think there's a lot of ways to that, get to them sooner. And I think the last thing is what I see is go above and beyond. I see kids in this generation that are just okay being average. They're just okay being like everybody else, and they're getting by and they're okay with that. I don't see very many that want to go above and beyond to be the exceptional one. They're just okay being okay. And my kids too. And I'm like, but be better than that. Do something before that you're asked to do it. Do something more than is needed. I don't know where that happened, but I think it's a big problem. So those are really my 3 pieces of advice that I give to my kids, whether they're listening or not. But, and I know, Mark, you addressed that and you addressed it in your TED Talk, and really just kind of talking through those pieces with the kids. And again, I don't think that they're going to think they need this book. So I think it's going to be on parents and family members as a graduation present or something like that to say, here's some things you should consider. And this might be a good book to read through.
Yeah, that's awesome, Christy. Thanks for that. I mean, let me just kind of add on, when you said, go beyond or do the extra thing, I think there's a generality. And you did mention, like in my TED Talk a couple of weeks ago, it's a whole different topic. But, one of the things I generalized was in the conversation was that there's a perception out there of this generation that, they're lazy or they don't go work hard or they take things for granted or, so what would you say from the corporate side, right? So, you build incredible world-class programs for all types of companies, right? Amazon, we do onboarding, and Bank of America and all these great companies. What are you hearing from them as far as like what needs to get instilled in their new hires or these quote unquote, graduates coming into their companies?
Great question.
Oh, that's a good question.
I know I put you in the spot as usual, right?
No, I think it's good. I mean, when I think back to training, when I went through training, I started out at Fidelity, right? And the training was like an 8-week program. It was just so much information at one time. And I just remember thinking back, wow, I didn't get a lot from that. And it was referred to as training. So I think as, in all the conversations that I'm having with potential clients, I'm not saying training anymore. Nobody wants to go through training, right? That's something they have to do. It's something they might not think that they need, but I think it's more approaching it as an experience, right? I mean, you need to, it's not just, you need to go through all these courses to learn your job. Well, you also need to experience a lot of the job as well. And you need to learn some things to get you started. So I think I almost feel like there's a terminology switch that needs to be made. And we're starting to do that. Because a lot of the new hires coming in that we even are developing programs for are in this generation, right? They're starting out, really, not all, but most of them. So I think, looking at training differently, because it's what we went through and how we learned isn't going to work anymore. It's not. And we all know that it's totally different now. The focus, like the time that people can spend on something is like 3 minutes max. I mean, we are not developing 60-minute courses anymore. Nobody really wants to sit through those. But the funny thing is that I say this to clients and they're like, well, it's 60 minutes of content. I'm like, we're still going to build an experience that's 60 minutes, but we're going to chunk it out so they don't even realize it, right? So we're going to give them short bursts of information and they're going to take that in as they can. And then they're going to try it out and they're going to experience it and they're going to come back and take some more. So, I mean, I think looking at learning differently and how we teach these kids and anybody is really part of that. I think that's going to contribute a lot to it. And we've got to focus on this generation because they are who our target is. I mean, they're coming into the workforce and we need people. Companies need to hire in. So, I mean, I think it's really changing the experience of how people learn.
Thanks, Christy. Perfect answer. Appreciate
Perfect.
that. Yeah.
I know. I'm really appreciating this as a business owner, but then also what you said in your first response as the mom of a 5-year-old. And I'm thinking, what should I be doing right now? So Christy, I just really appreciate you coming on today. I really learned a lot personally. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Congrats again, Mark. This is really exciting. I didn't think I'd ever work for a book publisher, but this is very, very exciting. Another thing to add, right? I see a lot of our team on here, and I think, you know, they are all instrumental in this and in the company, in Core Access, and Mark, you are at the helm. So congratulations and good luck.
Thanks, Christy. Appreciate you coming on. Talk soon.
Mark, your kids are here.
Excellent. It'll be quick. Trust me.
Okay, well, I'm so excited. You have to introduce them to us.
All right, we'll bring them on, and only 2 out of 3, and then my better half Rachel's here too. So,
Hey, girl.
Yeah.
How cool is this?
It's fun.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Super fun.
Zach, is this weird for you or Hallie?
I mean,
I'm
I
like a
never
little
thought
nervous.
yeah, I never thought he would write a book, but you know, comes up with a lot of crazy ideas sometimes. So I'm happy for him though.
Well,
Yeah.
just being around him the past couple of months, I just want to be a part of your family. I mean, it seems like you guys have such a good time and you're so close. Hallie, it's been wonderful to get to know you. So if I could say this, Mark let me know that Hallie was looking for a summer internship and he was bragging about you. And I got to see your website and your LinkedIn profile. And I was blown away. I mean, as an employer, I've never seen anything like that, which it was just really cool. Obviously, I read the book, but having the ability to actually experience it live through you, it was really, really powerful. So Hallie, what is your experience on this side as Mark's, daughter? Obviously, he's been coaching you and mentoring you to have such a great platform, but what's it been like for you behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Zach about this a little bit yesterday. I think that something that's so great is the way that he is to everyone else is exactly, I guess, how he is to us too as a teacher. Like my dad, to his core, is a teacher. He's a leader for other people, but he also is the same way for Zach and I. And then I'm sure my mom too, and Kira also. I feel like he's someone I can constantly lean on and, ask questions. He definitely pushes building your own personal brand. So when I did come to him and tell him that I was looking for an internship, which naturally the first person I would go to would be him, just because of, I guess, how much knowledge he has in.
Sure. And he's a great network, right? I mean, so.
Right. So that's why I went to him. And that's when he told me to build a website, because that will help build my brand. And it's somewhere where potential employers can go and easily find me, because I think that he knows as an employer that when people are maybe applying, it's so easy for maybe your resume to get just like lost in a sea of other resumes. So when he told me, or kind of pushed me in the direction of building my own brand, building a website where I could showcase some of my work, that was some really good advice that definitely has benefited me a ton.
Yeah. And you also created a really phenomenal video just introducing yourself and talking about some of your core values. I mean, it was just extremely impressive to watch you and what you've built. And Zach, what say you, my friend? What are you most excited about regarding your dad's book or watching just all of this? What's been going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, over all these years, my dad's really given us, me and my sisters can probably agree, but just a lot of advice. And for the most part, like, unfortunately, I can't really remember all the tips and tricks he's kind of given us, just like how to live life, how to move on, how to keep on getting older. And I feel like just based off his expertise and his success over all these years, I feel like it's a great opportunity for other people to have the, I guess, again, the opportunity to really understand what he's teaching and what he's trying to teach, and kind of give those people like us in our 20s the success we need to kind of go along with our career paths. So it's just a really great opportunity for a lot of people like me and my sisters as well.
And that's just a quick humble brag. Hats off to Zach. He went out and got an internship his junior in high school. In college, which, we didn't have to do when we were younger for the most part, right? And built his resume, built his background, and then got offered a full-time job at Thermo Fisher Scientific, which he'll start this summer after he graduates from Union in a couple months. And that's a big accomplishment. I'm really proud of him as a dad, because not every kid or student does that. It's tough to do. So it's a competitive world out there. So kudos to Zach for that. And those are some of the things I try to do in the book is kind of leverage some of those. That's an experience that I can share to hopefully some of Zach and his friends and Hallie and her friends and throughout sort of this generation. And then I'll be remiss to mention that Kira, our youngest, who's a junior in high school, couldn't make this, and she's texted me all morning saying she's bumming, and she's sort of I'd say the glue of our family in a funny way. She kind of keeps us all light and easy and fun. So we're bumming that she couldn't make it because she's kind of diving between classes. So, but she's missed, but certainly loved.
I meant it. You guys just have the most beautiful family. And Rachel, I can only imagine just what you've been pouring into your family over the years and what you've had to put up with this guy.
It's a long list.
What are you feeling and experiencing as your kids are, of the age that they are? They're going out into the world. Like, what's your perspective? I'm dying to know.
Well, first I want to say, Mark, just what the kid said, Mark is the ultimate cheerleader. He is always there, like rooting us all on. And I do think, his advice and his career experience that he's able to share, in this book is so wonderful for all that read it and enjoy its contents. For me as a mother and as a parent of Gen Zers, I feel like, I know Mark's talked about this in his TED Talk and in the book, we definitely tried to give our kids probably more than what our parents gave us, like whether it was tutoring or training, or we wanted to make them happy and right. Like you don't want to see your children disappointed. But I do feel like these kids also have way more pressure than we did when we were their age. Like the pressure to get, even like you said, you had a 5-year-old, right? Like the pressure to, be on the best sports team or be in the best dance class or be in the fastest math class. But now as they get older, there's that pressure to get an internship over the summer. We never had that. Like, we worked in the pool or we enjoyed our summers, or the pressure to have a job out of college. Like the pressure to know what you want to do at the age of 18. Like, right. At 18, I went to college to like figure out what I wanted to do, not to be like, this is what I'm going to do. So I do feel like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on these children, and I feel like trying to keep everyone happy and even tempered, right?
But it's an enormous responsibility that parents have these days. And a lot of parents, they don't know what to do. They don't know what they don't know, And so I just really appreciate that, Mark, you took that risk. Writing a book is insanely difficult. People think it's no big deal, but it is so much work, and you're rewriting it, and your own stuff comes up in the purpose in the journey of it, and you wonder who's going to read it. And just being able to watch how the world has really responded to Mark over the past couple of months is amazing. I mean, the people that want to interview him, the bulk buys that are happening. And I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, Mark. I probably am, but like it's so special to see the world saying, thank you, we needed this. Thank you for the time that you put into writing this book. It's awesome. And I love how your family's showing up for you. Are you kidding me? It's so special.
I want to say one more thing.
Please.
I also think that Mark is one of his big quotes is, what's the worst thing they're going to say? No. So he always puts himself out there. He's unafraid. And I think that's a really, really great attribute for the young people to have. Like, I am more someone, probably opposite of Mark in a lot of ways, but I think that he does drive me to put myself out there in a way that I wouldn't, and the kids the same way, to like, go for that internship, go for that, ask these questions, don't be afraid. So.
Coach Zides.
Spot on, honey. Spot on.
Well, guys, I just really appreciate you coming in today. Mark, anything else you want to say before we let them off the line?
No, just love you guys. And, to two college kids, go study hard, play hard, have some fun. Just, enjoy it. And thanks for joining this today. It means a lot to me. So you guys know that. So thanks.
Thank you, Rachel.
This was so fun seeing all of you guys.
Thanks, Rach.
Bye.
Bye.
I love your family so much. Mark, I just wanted to bring this up really quick. I know we've got to get to our next guest, but just so that everybody is probably wondering, well, how the heck do I go buy this book? Where is it? I know you've seen the banners coming across the page there. But once you get onto the book sales page, you'll be able to order the book today on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You'll see that Mark is giving away some really amazing bonuses. One is a group Q&A call next week. So if you are a young professional and you're wondering, well, gosh, I don't have a brand, I don't have a platform, I need a summer internship, or I'm looking for a job, or maybe you already have a job and you're wondering, how do I get promoted? How do I fit in better? How can I get my ideas out into the world? This would be a perfect opportunity to just come in, safe space, ask your questions to Mark. Again, that's next week. And you can get access to that and other amazing bonuses if you just go order the book today, and then you come back and you're just going to enter in your name, email address, and order number so that we know where to send access to the group call and access to the other bonuses. So you can pop over here if you want a little bit more information as to what the book is about, get to know Mark's background a little bit more. And if you're an employer, we've had several people in the past month that are ordering bulk copies, 20 copies, 50 copies, 200 copies. If that's you, Mark and I can connect with you and even design your own bonus experience. Maybe you want him coming in to talk to your students or to your team or to your leadership, or have a conversation about designing an onboarding and training curriculum. Whatever it is, feel free to contact us anytime. You can also get access to get to see the first few pages of the book here. But ultimately, you're just going to come here to buy the book, sign up for your bonuses. And so I just want to make sure that we did that walkthrough. That way everybody's clear on how they can move forward with you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Amber. I mean, again, looking forward to the Q&A and looking forward to any other downloads that we have set up for people. Because again, I feel that there's a lot of, good, I'll call them checklists or things that people can kind of download and make sure they're prepared for, whether it's a job interview or making sure the social media is all synced up, whether it's their LinkedIn profile or their resume, cover letters need to be customized, all that good stuff. So,
Perfect.
So next guest, Jody Wisson. So Jody and I have known each other for a long time, and Jody's one of, she's both a close friend, great client, great consultant, and been in L&D for 25 years, coaching young generation. She's got son of her own who's Gen Z, who's super successful and worked at Coraxis for a little while, and now he's at Facebook Meta. So he kind of went to another level in his career, and having Jody on is going to be great to kind of talk about some of the challenges and some of the opportunities of this young talent in the marketplace. So thanks for joining, Jody.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Congratulations. Happy birthday. You're having a banner week, I will tell you.
Thanks, Jody. And and thanks for wearing the colors too. I appreciate it. Matches.
I know. I didn't even get the blue memo. And it's like, oh, let's see what looks good on camera. Yeah. Which, by the way, right? Younger people need to know, dress appropriately. Think about that one thing that's going to differentiate you or make you memorable, not in a bad way, in a good way. So anyway, I gave it that thought. Now I do have,
really smart.
I'm wearing nothing from the waist down, but that's great. That's the beauty of working from home.
That's funny.
That's right. Yeah. That's a scary thought. I won't deal with that.
Well, I am curious, Jody. So Mark, you kind of mentioned it, but what are some of the challenges and opportunities that you've seen in your career with these young professionals? What advice?
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's not just the generations that you're talking about. The application of what's in this book has application really across every generation. I see myself sucked in with, things like some of the challenges. I've just written some notes down because I've been coaching young people and older, more experienced for the last 10 or 12 years. And I'd say first and foremost is for our young workforce, moving from a student to a professional or even a trade is different, and having a plan around doing it. You just don't jump in and say, okay, I'm a great student, I'm going to be a great professional. It's like, doesn't work that way. Have a plan. That's the first thing. And that's a difficult thing. So that's both a challenge and an opportunity. I'd say the other thing, and I don't mean to sound bad about this, it potentially speaks to what you have spoken to already, which is there's an inflated expectation that our young people have. I did well in school. I did great in college. I do well outside. Now I'm going to do great immediately before I even send my resume out. I am great, which is both great and not so great, right? Because you don't have the right level of expectation of what you're going to be in for. So that's probably the other challenge that we have. It's too much. Hey, I'm the best out there. Teach me. That's another great challenge and opportunity. They're very teachable and coachable, which is why I think this book is perfect, because most young people are learning, and as a result, they're used to learning and applying new things. So in that regard, that's probably a great area of opportunity, is leverage what you have spent the last 18 years of your life learning, because it's never going to stop. You will continue to learn until you die. That's the next thing to learn.
Very true.
I'd say the other is limited experience in their mind and in reality. But how do you take those experiences and do something with them in a professional setting? And then the other, and you've spoken to it already, competition. They're not just competing with other students coming out of college, they're actually competing with more mature workers because somebody's decided to make a career change. Maybe they read your book and said, ooh, this is time for me to pivot. I'm going to go do something totally different, but I have to start at the ground floor. That's fine with me. This is what I want to pursue. So it's not just competing with people from college that are graduating with you. It's other workers out there. And how do you differentiate yourself when you're competing in that nature? On the opportunity side, I'd say your daughter was such a great example, which is think about your personal brand. Not just think about it, but have a plan around it. And not just have a plan around it, but go execute on it, whatever it is. And it'll also show what I consider to be, it's hard to show your knowledge and skill when you're coming into the workforce, or even when you've been in the workforce. But what differentiates are the attributes that you bring. So your daughter showed some incredible attributes that are amazing for any employer. It's like, now this is someone who took the bull by the horns and did something about it. And what she produced showed some attributes she has, passion around social media, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And then the last I would say in the areas of opportunity are stories. Whether you're coming out of college, whether you're been in the workforce for 10 years, or whether you're a parent, like Christy showed, use stories to show your attributes. And the power of a story is incredible and meaningful and memorable.
I like that. That's really good.
I love that. Yeah.
Spot on as usual, Jody. Yeah. I mean, all your advice and comments are spot on. I mean, the point about having those expectations when they get into the workforce,
right?
And unrealistic, again, because they don't know what they don't necessarily know. And again, I'm generalizing, but
right.
After being what we hear back from hiring managers and recruiters is common theme is after they've been at a job for 6 months, they want to be promoted. It's like, well, in the old days when I was or you were working our way up, sometimes it took 6 years, maybe not 6 years,
Right.
but a couple of years, right? Not just 6 months. So thanks for that feedback and advice. So let me ask one more follow-up question. So what are some of the biggest mistakes young talent make as they enter their career journey? So, kind of as they get into the workforce, give one or two kind of potential, areas they might trip up as they get into the I mean, you've worked at great companies. You've worked at Fidelity and HD Vet. I mean, you've worked at these awesome brands and companies. So you've seen it from a, talent and development perspective, but then you also have seen it as a consultant too.
Yeah, and like you, I've had the pleasure of being a mentor and coach to my own children. And it was interesting. My children had a chance to meet someone that they'd never met before. They knew a little bit about my children, who are adults, by the way. And my friend said later, and it was actually the biggest compliment I think I've ever gotten, which was, this is what a young, successful person looks like. And I went, oh, that means I did my job as well as I could, that they were able to be where they were and be able to articulate what was important to them and why they do what they do and why they like it and other things that go with it. So I would say some of the biggest mistakes are, most importantly, they seem to never have a plan. And quite honestly, a lot of adults that have been in the workforce don't have a plan. So you just kind of go with the flow. It's like, this is great. This is part of my plan. So I'd say not having a plan is pretty normal, but it is a mistake. The second I would say is, and it's very sad, but it's a sad reality, which is the immediacy of life, whether it's through this or our computers, or anything for that matter, ordering up my ice cream from whoever is going to deliver it for me. That sense of immediacy that they have carries through everything. So they feel as if, and so do all workers at this point, applying online, I'm going to get an immediate response and I'm going to have an interview. I love that. That's actually what I love about working with young people is they're always learning, they're always adaptable, they have desire, they're coachable, but most importantly, they are eager and they're ready to move and do something with their lives. And I think in that regard, it becomes a mistake because applying online, no, it's, welcome to the black hole. And I always say, have you actually gotten anything back? Well, no. How long has it been? How many times have you followed up? And so I think that the age-old, the past, you apply online, great. You probably were able to get an interview or at least a response. In today's environment, that is not the case. And so it's getting them to rethink how they get access to even getting an interview. And I'd say never underestimate the resume. And the resume can be anything, whether it's an online presence, a piece of paper, a video, whatever it might be. Do not underestimate it. And it must be customized for the role. So doing exactly what it's going to be, you have got to look at that job description, pick up the parts and pieces that are critically important, weave those in. And that does take skill. And I think that leads to the fourth one, which is seek out expertise and someone to coach, mentor, and guide you through the process. I'm so excited about what, Mark, you have accomplished, that now you have bottled all of that in this book, that now they can even give the book to somebody that they trust exactly and said, read this with me. You seem to be successful. Can you help coach me through and guide me through this process? It doesn't have to be you or me or someone else. It's someone that they trust and respect that will help them through seeking out an expert to go through that. And then the last one is, and I know you speak about it in the book, don't underestimate networking, but I want you to rethink what networking means. So it's not just, oh, I'm going to network on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm going to go out to my buddies that I grew up with or went to college with or that are out there a couple of years. No, you want to work that network actually of your parents and or any other successful adult you have ever come into contact. Those are the people that will help you get in, get noticed, get a job, and help you and guide you. And because they become the Mark Zides, your cheerleader through the process. So it's really rethinking networking as well.
Jody, that is amazing advice. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
that's really awesome.
Yeah, awesome advice, Jody. Thank you for that. Yeah, and again, there's, I mean, I can't stress enough a couple points you made around the networking. We have a couple chapters in the book on exactly what you said. So yeah, I mean, thanks for highlighting that. And I know you and I are completely aligned on all this stuff, and thanks for coming on, and really appreciate your support and help.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I know this will be hugely successful, and every person that ever buys this book should really be sending you a text message in your email the minute they make it in to their first and second job. Yes. It's because of your book and what you taught me that allowed me to be where I am.
Thanks, Jody. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jody. Something that she said that I really wanted to highlight was when she was talking about the job description and pick out some of the keywords in the job description. I love it personally as an employer when people make me a video, because I can just tell so much about a person and their spirit just through video. So I've seen a lot over the years. And one of my favorite things is when somebody goes to my website, Mark, and I prominently and proudly display our company core values. So when I see, and Hallie did this, by the way, but when when somebody goes to the website and they will really look at our core values, and then in this video, they will tell me what they believe in terms of those core values. Like, what does better together mean to you? What does lean in mean to you? When they can also look at my own social media as the employer, and they can say, I really love how you talk about this in your marketing, and I really feel a part of what you guys are building. I can see the vision for it. Are you kidding me? Talk about separate yourself from the other applicants. It gets me excited as the employer, because then I feel seen, heard, valued. So really, it doesn't take that much to stand apart from other applicants, but I would say awareness is a really key one, being able to pick apart those keywords in the job description and then communicate forward. What are you seeing in this company that you're applying for? So I felt compelled to emphasize that.
No, just again, you're preaching to the choir, as they say. A lot of the, what Jody said, a lot of these processes or students will apply online, and it goes into a black hole because the applicant tracking system, the ATS, just screens them out because the keywords don't align, right? So to your point, if you can step outside, and we have a little chapter on that in the book, but if you step outside of what a normal process might be to try to elevate your own brand or your approach, in other words, do a selfie video, or, like you said, check out someone's website and customize that cover letter to really make you stand out, like you just said and Jody said, which again, hopefully will then get your resume to the hiring manager or to the top of the pile. It definitely means a lot, and it differentiates these students, in many, many ways. And then the other thing I'd say too, as far as building your brand and your network, you don't have to necessarily do it directly. Like, Amber, you probably get hundreds and if not thousands of emails, right? Or inquiries about working in your company. A lot. Although I will say, I'm impressed by a lot of things by you, but one of the most impressive things that you said to me recently was your inbox is clean whatever it's weekly, daily, like you clean it out. And that is like one of the hardest things to do. So kudos. I don't know how you do it. I'm going to need some coaching on that.
Tiara and Tiffany.
Yeah. That said, what I would say is engage with the companies you want to work with, right? or work at. So follow them on LinkedIn,
for sure.
like and make comments on, if a company, if you want to work for a drug company, make a comment on the new drug or something that you like, or if there's a leader in that company and you follow them or you endorse them, you say something, that's an indirect sort of network, right? That's a touch point that could go a long way, because all of a sudden 6 months or 2 years down the road, that person you reached out to could be still at that company, be a hiring manager. That person could be at another company. So it's some little tactics there, but LinkedIn's a great platform to kind of help you build your brand and build your network.
Yeah, I don't think enough young people realize that employers are combing through their social networks of the applicants to really get to know, like, of course, we're all putting our best foot forward when we're applying for a job, right? But as an employer, I'll go deep into that person's social media history and I'm looking for what's buried down there. Like, who are you really?
Right.
So just make sure that you're tidying up those partying photos and anything that you don't want out into the world, because once it's out there, it's really hard to take it back. And I loved your advice about being interactive for the companies that you want to work for, the people or leaders, influencers, people that you align with in terms of core values. It's a great idea. Go find those people on Instagram, and just by sheer nature of communicating on their profile, who knows, that person might be looking for a job. You just never know. Mark, before we introduce our next guest, I really want to give you the opportunity to tell us what PACE stands for. I mean, I know in your table of contents, prepare, apply, commit, evaluate. Tell me more about PACE itself.
So PACE is one of those words I've used for a long time, and I that's sort of my sign off to friends and family, and it's one of those words that's ambiguous, right? If that's such a word, I think it is. Where it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? So in the world of career or growth or development or leadership, PACE could mean a lot of different things. It can mean keep the pace, maintain the pace, slow down the pace, check your pace. And in a lot of different situations, and it means different things, right? So, if someone's lazy or someone's not going hard enough, you might say, pick up the pace, right? If someone's a type A and going 110 miles an hour and they need to reflect and, slow down a little bit, slow down the pace or check your pace. So
check your pace.
Yeah. And with all that said, we wanted to create sort of some fun and energy with the book. So we turned it into an acronym, which you just said, PACE. And, and we wanted to have the hashtag thing there because it's kind of fun and social oriented. And so
I think it's great.
The whole process has been fun. And I love that word. And the branding's, fun too on the website and some of the swag that we have coming out as well.
Yeah, it is. What are some of your favorite, like a favorite story or teaching concept, something in the book that you reflect back and you loved that part of the book, or you enjoyed writing that story? Is there anything that comes to mind? I know I'm putting you on the spot with that one.
Let me come back to that, because you are putting me on the spot, but I'll definitely try to answer that after the next guest. I don't want to hold them up.
Okay, great. Sounds
but
good.
The one other thing I wanted to do was acknowledge Holly Peck came in. I saw one of her notes and she asked if we're going to have an audible. And Holly's one of our top consultants. She does a lot of unbelievable facilitation, leadership, management development at, VMware and Dell are two of our top clients that she partners with us on. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
She's great. And she's got some young kids, and she asked about Audible. And the answer is yes. The book will be on Audible shortly. My guess it'll be this month. So as soon as it's out, we'll announce that. And I'm with you that these younger generation will want to listen to an Audible versus buy the book, right? So they can download the Audible when it comes out, and it'll be on platforms to do that. So thanks for raising that, Holly. Appreciate it.
It's both, because I also like marking up books, and I will bookmark them, flag them, ideas. I'll ideate in the side, because I know you're talking about values and passions, and a lot of great material here for exercise. I know you also have a companion guide that's a bonus for people who buy the book at markzides.com. You can go back and get access to that companion guide. But I'm just a junkie for these the books that I can hold.
Yep, you and me both. So our next guest is one of my faves. Julie Ostek's going to be joining us, and She's both a close friend and one of my, as Rachel said, one of my cheerleaders out there that kind of always has my back and is a, smart person. I always go to her for advice. She works at Drift. She's a customer success leader. Should probably be the CEO of the company, but she tries to stay kind of behind the scenes. And that said, our family is fortunate to, be very, very close to Julie and her family. And her husband, Al, is a good friend of mine as well. And her 3 boys all sort of align with our family. And we've had, tremendous experiences together over the years, living in Southborough. And Julie and I actually have coached together, whether it's our kids in soccer or Little League, and had a ton of fun. So happy to have Julie on the chat today and kind of, maybe share some stories. Keep them clean, Jules, but, love to have you join this chat. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, Mark. Hi, Amber. Nice to see you both. Mark, congratulations. I'm super excited for you today. It's a big day.
Thank you.
An accomplishment.
Well, I appreciate that. I wouldn't do it without your support and everyone else's, especially your awesome family. So thanks for coming on board. So one of the things I just want to kind of throw out there and ask is, through coaching, Little League and soccer and all the travel stuff we did over the years, like, what do you think is the most important lesson, we took away raising kids together and kind of coaching these kids is, your Alex is really successful, kind of first job living in San Fran, and, Zach's going back to grad school, get his MBA, and Luke's now at UVA, and, you got some high achievers over there on Fiddleneck, but kind of in general, if you had to look at, the application of kind of our kids and the Gen Zs and, as they get into the workforce, and you're a Drift, right? So you see a lot of these younger, quote unquote, workers, as we say, come into the workplace. Kind of what are you seeing that they can improve upon, or how would you coach them from your perspective?
Yeah, really great question. And I think you're 100% right, Mark. I think a lot of the skills that our kids embody come from lessons they learn in youth sports and, private league sports. Of course, a lot of the values they have come from home, and that's critically important, but their friend group in sports really emphasize and heavily influence the outcome, the product at the end of the day. So when I look at sports and coaching, I think some of the most important values that our kids gleaned from that and have taken forward with them in their careers that are going to help contribute to their success. Discipline, the discipline of getting up every day and doing the things to make yourself a better athlete, whatever your sport is. In addition to that, teamwork and collaboration are such critical skills for success in today's world, right? You don't have to be the smartest person. You just have to have amazing people skills and work well with other people. So I think that collaboration and the teamwork you get from playing sports is so important. And then I think sportsmanship ultimately, you learn that when you're young through sports very often, and the ability to really treat other people with kindness and fairness and to show empathy. Long term, that resonates so well in the workplace. And I think the people I most enjoy working with have all 3 of those characteristics. And I think if you bring those things to work every day, success will find you. And effort, the last one, and one of the most important ones would be effort. Put each time, to use a baseball analogy, because we spent so many years together on the baseball field, when you get that opportunity to be up at the plate, give it your best shot.
Love
Clay, my little 5-year-old, is in soccer, and just this weekend we were at a game, and halfway through the game he comes up and he's like, "I'm done, Mom. I just don't want to play anymore." And I'm holding him, as mothers love. It's like, I'll take care of you. I love you. And his dad and I sat him down and said, "Buddy, I think you should go back into the game just one more time." And he's like, "No, I don't want to." And it was just like one of those moments in parenting where it's like, you got to go get back in the game. Your team is relying on you. And so he went back out and he did such a great job. And so I think that I'm listening to what you're saying about effort, and I'm really appreciating that, because sometimes I think that it's easy to just say, well, no, maybe I'll get him on the next one. But in today's workforce, I think it's important that you push that effort and discipline forward and get that job and get that promotion. So I'm just really appreciating what you're saying, Julie.
Yeah, Amber, I think that's an important part of parenting.
It's hard.
My off the hook, right? They've got to be accountable and show up every day and that's really critical. And too many parents try and protect kids these days, but let them fail once in a while, but push them to keep doing their best and getting out there. Because at work, you have to show up every day,
Mark, I'm just so grateful that you did this, buddy. I'm so grateful.
So Julie, so based on showing up to work, I mean, if I could just ask one more follow-up question. So what are you seeing? And I know the company right now is like excelling and, extremely successful, doing really well, but what sort of traits, like what's the one or two things that you're seeing in the teams that you're working with in this younger generation that if you could give them a little bit of tough love or advice, like what would you say to them? I don't want to get you in trouble, but like, just,
Sure. No one can answer that. I think the number one thing that differs with this generation is often they have they have a lot of strong opinions about what they are and are not responsible for. And I think to be truly accessible and really successful in the work world, you need to sometimes play in areas that are a little blurry, a little gray, and maybe less comfortable for you. And so the one thing for me that I will hear people say is, "Oh, that's not my job," which I can't imagine those words ever coming out of my mouth. But, never say never. But I think that sometimes we have to push ourselves to do things. And if you really want to be considered a team player and you really want to be considered someone who is overachieving, sometimes you have to be willing to do things that aren't in your job responsibility. And you have to say yes instead of saying no, because I think yes is very powerful. No is easy. Yes is uncomfortable at times, but it makes the difference between good and great.
That's perfect. I'm gonna the next book. If I write another one, you're doing the forward.
I mean, ask me to contribute next time, Mark. I mean, I'm happy to participate.
We're gonna make this happen. It's too important.
I always have something to say.
Yeah, awesome advice.
Yeah.
So thanks, Julie. Appreciate you joining, and always great to see you. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you at the little event on Friday night.
I can't wait.
Dang, I liked her so much. Loved that. Yeah. We need to get you started with the podcast, Mark, and then she should be your first guest.
Love it. Sign me up. Sign me up. It would be great. There's a long list too. We got some talented peeps. So yeah, sorry we cut you off, Julie. That wasn't on purpose, but your conversation was awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I really appreciated that. One more guest, huh?
It's flying by.
I know. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I mean it's fun. It's like you said, it was just be a conversation, and it's these are the people that I like to surround myself with. I like, it's fun to surround yourself with good people, genuine people, and people that like to help each other out. And so it's been fun. Thank you.
Well, guys, I sort of forced Mark into this a little bit because, he's a very busy guy running, 2 companies now, basically Core Access, and then getting this out into the world. And I just really wanted to give him an opportunity to celebrate. This is the book's birthday, essentially. And you're going to be hearing about the book ongoing long term. There's a lot that Mark has a passion to do in terms of bringing together community and some of these experts to come in and pour into the next generation and also help employers. And I've just been, again, it's just been such an honor to be behind the scenes and helping him to get this out into the world. I think you're going to do some big things. So Mark, thank you for taking a chance to just take this moment and celebrate the launch day. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Amber. Yep. You and your team have been spectacular, and couldn't have done it without everyone. So I'm sure we'll shout out the team maybe at the end, but certainly it's been a lot of work. I remember when I reached out to you through a referral, and I'm like, so I wrote this book and it's been published and I need some help. And you're like, when do you want to release it? I said, well, I want to release it on my birthday, April 3rd. You're like, well, we don't release books on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, my lucky number's 4, so let's do it on Monday. And you and I went back and forth for about a month.
Shouldn't do it on Mondays either.
And you won, as you should. You won that little challenge. But you did say at the beginning that what we were up against or what we were going through as a team, your team and my team, was was going to be a lot of work. And, as you asked me to reflect last night, it's been a lot of work, but it's been a fun journey. And now that the book's here, I'm really excited. And, again, kudos to you and your team to kind of hold my hand throughout the process and push me whenever I need to get really softly pushed or really pushed. So thanks for that.
You've been an easy client to work with, though. I mean, truly, you keep pushing yourself. You have great discipline and restraint, and you put all of your effort in. I literally don't know how you do it all. Not to mention your TED Talk. Hopefully last night you were kind of celebrating that milestone. That's a very big deal at Babson, no less. I mean, that had to have been a really special moment for you.
It was fun. That was probably one of the more challenging things I've ever done in my career. So,
but you did a great job, and you guys can all go check out the episode. It's on YouTube, so you can go back and watch his TED Talk. He did such a great job, a lot of great points, and you got a lot of good feedback on that as well.
Yeah, it came out it was opportunistic at the right time, right when the book was coming out, and I got humbled to be invited to speak with 11 other great speakers. It was really a lot of fun after it was done. Leading up to it wasn't so much fun, but it was
very fast.
Yeah, it was. It was a great experience, and to say that I'm a TED speaker is obviously rewarding and humbling at the same time. And now that this book has been launched, certainly, hopefully, can cascade this into helping this younger generation as they get into the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to do more speaking in the future? I mean, we've talked about it all. We've talked about going into companies and colleges. Like, what do you want from here? I know we have Rob in the line, but I have to ask really quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I'd love to just see what matriculates from here. Sort of how this naturally happens. I mean, I've been flattered I've been asked a couple times. One of my colleagues texted me last night and said, "Can you come to our company and speak to our new hire class, next month?" And I said, "Well, let me think about that, because again, I have to come up with some workshops and materials. I mean, certainly a lot of that I have in my head, and that's in the book, but I want to be able to make it practical and actionable if we're going to go do that for companies. But I believe there's an opportunity to do some of that, because every company needs new hire onboarding,
for sure,
coaching, mentoring programs. And I believe I can add some value there. And then the other piece is, how could we look at this business and build a community around this important topic and help people and bring other experts maybe into the platform and into this, area where, again, we're helping to build not just the future of work or these next leaders, but also a platform and a place where people can develop themselves and grow and figure out what they want to do when they grow up. So,
and I had to ask, because the people that are listening, you guys can help Mark by networking, right? We talked about that earlier. If you know somebody, introduce them to Mark, and you never know where it's going to go. If you think he could help your community or your team or your college, whatever it is. So Mark, with that, do you want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, Rob?
Yeah. So, I mentioned future work. Rob's an expert in future work. Rob's been a CLO at a couple of companies. Hey, Rob. And, now has his own consulting firm that is on the other side, which helps companies like huge brands think about talent, think about learning, think about training. And, thought leader in the market, super well regarded. I'm probably going to embarrass you a little bit, Rob, but, appreciate you kind of joining the conversation here. We've had a lot of fun, a lot of good guests. And, if you can just kind of maybe spend a minute or so kind of talking about your experience and what you see in the future work, sort of this generation. And then, we can kind of talk about what we can do to kind of help these guys be all successful.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Hey, Mark, this is about you. So congratulations, first of all, right, on this book. It's awesome.
Thanks, Rob.
As I said to you, I think we traded some emails like this as well, much needed. So around for a lot of people, including my kids. So I'll probably be placing my order later today. So it'll be great. So I'm super excited about your book, really happy for that, and appreciative too, because you helped me a lot when I left and retired out of McDonald's and was trying to figure out my path forward. So I appreciate your advice and tips, and made a few things much easier for me. So that's really great. But, it's been interesting because I am working with a lot of companies right now and thinking about future of work issues and what's going on and the great resignation or the great reshuffle or whatever phrase we're going to throw on it this week. But I just keep beating the drum that it's really down to two things that I think people want, particularly younger generation. And I think it's more life stage than like, labeling it as millennial. And it's really two things. I think it's flexibility, right? So if anything, the pandemic's taught us is that people want flexibility and people will embrace flexibility. And the great news is, some forced innovation by companies because they had no choice but to give people flexibility. And suddenly that actually works. And so sometimes it takes a hammer, and hey, the pandemic did drive some good behaviors out of it. So I think that's good. So people are looking for flexibility. I've worked with frontline people for most of my career, McDonald's and Yum and Singular Wireless and beyond. And I think that flexibility is not something new for frontline workers, particularly essential workers, as they were probably looked at in the pandemic. Flexibility has been super, but I think on the office front now you're seeing people want that as well. And it means different things to different people. But I think that, the younger generation is really looking for that kind of flexibility in terms of, can I work where I want to work? Can I live where I want to live? And can I strike the right balance between, being fully focused in an office and being fully focused at home? And I think that's a realistic thing. And companies that get that seem to be winning on the retention side and or the attraction side. The second one I say is future, right? And I think that it's not a secret, but organizations that can really articulate that you have a future by coming to work here, or that by coming to work here, it can help create a future for you, I think are the ones that are also going to win in the long run here. So the notion of a dead end job is not, you're not going to attract many people by saying, well, this is the job, and how do you feel about the next 40 years doing this? You're probably not going to win a lot of people over on that front. So I think that a lot of my colleagues are working on things like, what does the learning journey look like? What is it, back to career paths? I even think back to the notion of, today it's crazy talk, but people working at the same company for 30 years. I actually think that it's trending in that direction. And the question is, can I have 7 different jobs across 30 years at that particular company?
That's right.
Doing different things. So I think that being able to articulate that and show that to people that there's a future here, or that what you're going to do here creates a future for you, I think is what people are really asking for as well. So I just say, if you're driving home the flexibility message and you're really clear on what the future holds for people in terms of what this job, whatever it might be, can help you do next, I think you're going to have no problem attracting and getting people in the door. The trick, though, on your side, right, with your book is, how do you figure out what that is? The big question is that assumes people know what they want to do.
Right.
And I think, discovering that is not so easy when you're 15 to 25 years old, right? I think it took me till I was like 27. I was telling you, to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. And now that I retired from McDonald's, I have that question again, like, what do I want to be when I grow up? So it never ends, right? But I think it's a really good direction and a really good challenge to tackle.
Yeah, it's great, Rod. I mean, so appreciate that from the client perspective. You're spot on with the flexibility and sort of holding multiple roles for 35 years. I mean, that's great. But if we could flip the switch a little bit and put your hat on as a dad and sort of kind of looking at it from this cohort of, quote unquote, young leaders, young future generation going into workforce, what do they need to do to, whether it's, build their personal brand or impact the workforce? What should they be doing as kind of early in their careers? What's your perspective there? What are you telling your kids when they're going for, an internship or a job interview?
Just get a job. No, that's sort of a dad comment, right? But I do think that there is something to that as well, right? Because I'll use my middle daughter as an example. I pushed her to get an internship this summer, and she was able to get one, and it's at a really good company. And she's like, I can't believe they hired me. I have no experience. And, and I'm like, let's be realistic. You think this is a direction you might want to go from a career perspective. So an internship's the perfect opportunity to figure out whether or not that's going to work for you or not, right? Whether you can really get passionate about it, or you can see yourself doing it or not. And I'm like, and you can do anything for 90 days. And by the way, they're going to pay you, which is even a bonus. Because when I was a kid, internships were basically slave labor, right? So you didn't get paid for anything. So, so I sit there and say, hey, try things out. And it's safe to experiment now. My youngest daughter is a little bit different than that. She's only a freshman in college, but, and trying to figure out the same questions. And my advice to her was like, talk to a lot of people, right? So every business leader that comes on campus to talk to a particular group, go get time with that person, either at the session or, hey, can you give me 30 minutes afterwards? I'd really like to understand your career path, what it is you do. Seems interesting, that kind of thing. I'm like, these people will talk to you. And she's like, and she sees people talk to me about that stuff. And I'm like, so don't be afraid. Go ask them. Ask for advice. Someone will trigger a light bulb, or someone might even offer you a job. You never know what might happen. That's
true.
Right. And so for me, it's really about explore, experiment. Don't be afraid to try something that you're not really confident at, because if you have no experience, you're not going to be confident in anything. So that's okay. It's expected, and go. Right.
I love that.
Yep, that's great, Rob. Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. Any other parting advice for this young generation before
buy the book?
What's that?
Yeah.
The answers are there.
Yeah, that was teed up. That was teed up like a nice 9-iron into a
I'm not even getting paid to say it either. But seriously, I do think that there is a huge need out there for what you're talking about in your book, and the more opportunities we can put in front of people to help discover it and figure it out and understand what it is that they can do and what they want to do, I think the better. So that's what that would be my
Rob. I keep telling him, can't you see this guy starting a podcast, having really great conversations with really interesting people, giving advice? I think it's great. Mark, we have to do it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it'd be great to bring people on and talk about like how they figured out what they were going to be. Right. Yeah. So, that's a
great idea.
This crazy one, like Jeff Bezos worked in a McDonald's, right? Because I used to work at McDonald's. So we knew that. Right. But how did he figure out like, he's going to go be one of the richest people in the world? It wasn't like he was 21 years old and said, oh, that's what I want to be. I'm going to be the king of merchandise. That wasn't really how it happened. But what did he want to be? Did he even know what he wanted to be? I think that people sharing those kind of experiences and being on the other end of it is really good to help people recognize that you don't have to have it figured out up front. Some of it actually just comes to you.
Yeah, you are chock full of advice. I love it.
Yeah, I get to think a lot about it as a dad of 3 girls. So maybe more than I want to. So
well, thanks, Rob. Again, appreciate your time. Appreciate you stepping in for this day, busy day. And let's certainly keep in touch, and I'll make sure I get my an autographed copy out to you soon.
I'll look for it. Thanks, Mark.
Right. Thanks, Rob. Good seeing you.
Rob. Dang, you have such a great network. I mean, I knew that, but this has been really special, Mark. I have to know, can I put you on the spot and just ask you, like, what was a highlight of this whole experience so far? From the very first concept, like the ideation, writing the first paragraph to now, like, what are some of the highlights that you can think of?
So, I mean, today was great. And again, I'm not just, saying that because you're here and your team's doing this, but this was rewarding, right? That this was a great, have my family there. It was great.
I loved that moment. I'm serious. I hope you invite me to like Thanksgiving someday. I just want to know your family. They're great.
So, so that was a lot of fun, and certainly seeing them smile and have my back as always. I feel like you helped me sort of codify and think through what this book actually could be, because when I originally started the journey, I thought it was going to be self-published. I thought, I'm going to check the box, it's bucket list, and I'm just going to throw it on Amazon. And then I met Kim, who's my agent, who's a rock star, and thanks for everything, Kim. And then she introduced me to Marianne, and who's a publisher, and she's like, hey, this thing's actually publishable. We got to tweak it a little bit. And so that sort of phase was interesting to me, because it's like, taking it from a self-published author, which again is really hard to do. And I tip my hat to all those folks that do that. But then when you go the publishing route, it just kind of adds layers of, I wouldn't say complexity, but just different,
It's
opportunities. Yeah. And so that was kind of, I love challenges, right? I love sort of looking at a challenge, figuring out how to conquer it and moving on to the next one. So this has been a series of that, right? Over the last couple of months. So, I mean, I don't know if I could put my finger on one thing that sort of stands out, but I think it was really the overall journey, particularly when I, engaged with NGNG, like, probably 8-10 weeks ago. Because that's when it really certainly went to the next level. And when you surround yourself with really smart people that are smarter than you, people that have the same values and work as hard as you, if not harder, I think that's what's going to bring success to this book and this project. And certainly hats off to you and your team for that, because I think we're there. And, a little humble brag here, but when I woke up this morning, I saw on Amazon that, we were top in 2 categories. Number one. And I mean, I would never have thought of that. Like, honestly, like whether it was 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago, that I'd be on Amazon ranked as a top whatever. It's funny,
number one, baby, number one.
In the major category, it's I texted a couple of buddies of mine this morning. It was funny. And Mike Glass, a good friend of mine from Thermo Fisher, and it's been supportive for a long time, said to me, Quincy Jones is number one in your category. I'm like, the famous singer. I'm like, and songwriter. I'm like, how does Quincy Jones have a business like, but he does. So he was number one, and then I was like number 2, and I'm like, that's pretty good,
Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, competition. But anyway, it's all good. It's just really giving back to this generation, and hopefully, people will take the book and learn from it, and use it as a career guide and advice as they kind of get out to the market. And or like Rob said, you're in the company, what can you do to pivot and change and maybe move on to another part of the organization, or advocate for yourself and say, I've been doing this for a year or 18 months. This project, can I take on something else? Or I'm in supply chain. Can I go into merchandising or marketing? So there's, a lot of opportunities like that. And then there's some advice that says, hey, maybe this isn't the right company, or maybe it's not the right role. And you learn from that, and you learn through experiences, and you learn from mistakes, and then you move on to the next one, right? Just like Rob said, I didn't know that Jeff Bezos worked at McDonald's. I mean, who knew that, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm sure Elon Musk, worked somewhere crazy, and now he owns 9.2% of Twitter. So, and those are obviously outliers of super successful people. But, if you put your mind and heart and soul into something, you can be really, really successful at whatever you want to do. If it's work, or if it's being a performer, or if it's being a social justice warrior, whatever you want to be, you can be. Just figure it out and go at it 110%.
I would really like to see applicants and employers just have better communication with each other. Like I want applicants to come in and share their ideas and innovate, and not just feel like, well, this is my role, so who am I? Or like, I don't know the bigger scope, and so I'm just not going to say anything. I mean, I am constantly encouraging my team to just lean in, speak up. What do you see? Where could we innovate? What could we change? I want your ideas. And as they start sharing those ideas, they only become insanely more valuable to the company. And then from a retention standpoint, okay, that's going to get them ownership in the ideas, and then they're part of building it out. So it's just, how can we create a win-win at every step along the path? And then for employers, making sure that you are letting your team know that, hey, I want you to grow. I mean, I love some of the people on my team. It was Rob saying you could have 7 different jobs in a 30-year career at one company. I think Megan on our team had 7 different jobs in her first year. She was learning live streaming and social media. She went into relationship management, book launches, now over to web, and she loves it. And it's also great from an employer perspective because you have built-in redundancies too. So just naturally knowing the state of the world, that change is constant, people are coming and going, being flexible and okay with that. But I think holding people's attention by showing them that they can grow in your organization in any way that they want to grow. I mean, can you imagine what the workforce would look like if employers and applicants really started communicating and interacting that way? It would be amazing.
Yeah, that's the holy grail right there. Absolutely. Yeah, that would be great. It's a lot easier to do that in a small company, a small thriving company like yours, right?
I know.
Versus a big
girl can dream.
Yeah, it's all good. Good stuff.
Well, where do you want to take it from here, Mark?
I mean, I think we're good. I mean, I think this has been a lot of fun. I think that you and your team helped produce this and supported it, along the way. And you and I could probably talk for another, 30 minutes about this, but certainly, I feel that this has been a successful launch, a successful dialogue with, a bunch of different people. And thanks for co-facilitating and emceeing it. You certainly
my honor.
Help make it easy. And yeah, certainly we're going to keep the ball rolling, right? So hopefully people will not just go out and buy the book today, but as things move forward, and we'll kind of continue to establish a market out there, and hopefully continue building the brand, whether it's on markzides.com or the book itself. So I'm really honored and flattered and humbled by this. I feel very fortunate.
Well, I'm just going to share my screen one last time, and then we'll let you go party. But I do want to remind everybody, markzides.com. I'm sharing this again because oftentimes people will come in at different times on a live stream launch party like this. So you can just pop on over to Mark's website. You can order the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I do see that #1 banner still here on Amazon. It's been there for days now. It's really exciting to watch your community showing up for you. Anybody who did order, please just pop down and leave a review for the book. So as many reviews as come in, that starts to kick up the algorithms in Amazon to open up that book and give it exposure into new customers and new markets. So really hoping for an honest review. Even if you want to get a copy of the Kindle and just flip through the first few pages or the first few chapters and then leave a review, we would really appreciate that. But the big one is to come back and enter in your name and email address so we can give you information as to where you can get access to this Q&A with Mark next week. This is a really fantastic opportunity to get target advice, talk about your brand, have him take a look at your resume, get advice right here and right now on how you can get that promotion or fit into the culture or stand out as an applicant or an employee. And you can also learn more about the book and see the rave reviews, etc. But just wanted to share my screen there one more time. And thank you all so much for participating in this live stream launch party. It's really meaningful for me to share the space with Mark in this moment. I'm so aligned with his values and his advice in this book. So please support him moving forward with his business, because I really want to see this one grow big.
Thanks, Amber. Appreciate it. I'll show a little picture there. And yeah. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. All your support in the team, and we'll chat soon. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. I really
Thanks, everyone.